Welcome to First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the birthplace of congregational humanism. We carry on that tradition of free thought today, dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. Our web address is firstunitarian.org. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. I am so honored to be here with you this morning to come back to FUS, and I'm grateful to my colleague Yulin for inviting me and to Shelley for leading the assembly and welcoming me so warmly. And also, I'll just say, so grateful for this music today, which is just like healing water washing over us. Thank you. It's good to be with you all in these harrowing days. A couple of weeks ago, I was walking in my neighborhood in St. Paul, and a driver slowed their car. They rolled down the window and called out, "Hey, do you need a ride anywhere?" They couldn't see my face. It was so cold. I was all swaddled up in scarves and fleece and a hood. So they were offering their help. They were actually taking a risk with a random mummified coat blob moving down the sidewalk. I couldn't see them either. No, I said, "I'm good, thank you." And they asked if I were sure, and then nodded and drove away. So it may be that I'm just starved these days for signs of human decency, but I feel like maybe this kind of thing is happening more in recent weeks. More, "How you doing?" on the street. More chatting in the grocery line. More eye contact. And I want to be in that number. This fearless network of neighbors, strangers who are wanting to connect, longing to connect at some level, longing to connect at some human, merciful level. People are wanting and willing to help, and it is easy to forget it in these days. It reminded me of a poem by Naomi Shihab Nye called Shoulders. A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him. No car drive too near his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he's not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say, "Fragile, handle with care." His ear fills up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. We're not going to be able to live in this world, in this country, if we're not willing to carry each other metaphorically, literally, for real. We must learn and relearn, teach each other again how to feel the hum of one another's dreams against our own bodies and protect that fiercely. The driver in St. Paul did not offer exactly to carry me across the street like the man carrying his child, although I sort of think they might have done it if I'd asked. But it was tender like that. It was urgent like that. It felt intimate like that. When that driver stopped, I was on my way to church, not a Unitarian congregation, but one I've been going to since around the election because it's 5 minutes from my house on foot, and I'm feeling this need to be with people right near where I am, my proximate neighborhood. It's an old building. It's about the same age as my house, and it's in similar condition, the way it sits kind of weary on its old foundation, but it is sturdy enough to hold its people safely. There are maybe 24 adults in there every week, mostly older, and a smattering of children and youth. And the first time I went, a family came forward during the prayers of the people. 2 little kids, maybe 5 and 6 at most, with their parents, who were clearly uncomfortable in front of the microphone and who said in trembling voices, "We just want you all to know that Jacob here uses she, her pronouns now. We'll help you remember if you forget. We are so grateful for you, our church family." And the kids were all squirmy and joyful and running around up there, and the parents were weeping, and the whole church was weeping and clapping. The next week, the offering went to an emergency fund for the undocumented people in the congregation and also in the wider neighborhood, people who work in the corner grocery store or who own storefront restaurants or the nail salon down the street. Now I was weeping. This church has a stained glass window behind the chancel, behind the pulpit, depicting Jesus with outstretched arms and long blonde flowing hair. And and words in the program every week explain that the window is as old as the building. It's actually helping to hold up the building. And because it will be experienced as harmful or hurtful or offensive or exclusionary, every week they project on the wall next to the pulpit a huge image made by an artist of color or an indigenous artist or a queer artist depicting all kinds of images of God or holiness in general. They end every service there with bubble wands given out by the children, and everybody dances from their seat or in the aisles if they're able. And they do this even if the morning's theme was immigration and cruelty or climate crisis or the dangers facing trans children or trans adults or queer people generally or black people or brown people or women or poor people or the rise of fascism or the downfall of democracy or the collapse of late-stage capitalism. They blow bubbles and they dance every Sunday. I don't believe all the things that they do theologically, and I don't care. And what matters more is they don't care. There is a humble decency there, this wide mercy. And of all the brave things they do, one of the bravest is the singing in English, in Spanish, in all the languages of the people gathered. To sing out loud about joy and hope when there are only 20 people in the whole place, where every raspy, off-key voice is clearly heard and plainly needed, that is brave, and it makes everybody braver. It is hard right now to remember this, but there are all around us all kinds of congregations, coalitions, collectives, organizations, ordinary people, unions, moving through these days with us, these awful days, with love burning at the center of their being. Our beautiful UU congregations are among them, but we are not alone in this radical witness, this defiant, deliberate way of being in the world, this brazen, basic love. You are not alone. We are part of a wide, deep, ancient network of humans just trying to be more humane, wiser, and braver than any of us alone truly believe we can be right now. It is a different kind of bravery. It is not loud, not spectacular. And loud bravery is necessary too now, as never before, in-your-face kinds of courage. But I'm talking here about something maybe more primal, more intimate, something instinctive maybe, if we can just remember who we are at our core, remember where we come from, our ancestors, our comrades, all our relatives by blood and by choice. A colleague said to me recently, we cannot express our love for each other too often now or too much. And that is right. There are maybe 8 or 9 old church buildings, little buildings like this one, around my house. So there's the one I've been visiting, which been around since about 1908, I think. Another is boarded up. 2 or 3 are used just for 12-step meetings. Some still have church on Sunday with new immigrant communities worshiping in the various second-hand buildings abandoned by the Protestant mainline. And of course, one has been gentrified into a private home with a fence around it and a security system and whatever. All these congregations coexisted side by side for a long time on the west side of St. Paul, more than 100 years. And they remind me that old networks of mutual aid and radical imagination and generosity and joy, these subversive safe havens, they've been operating in plain sight all this time, amidst all the other more obvious and obnoxious networks of classist and racist exclusion, all the barriers that define and circumscribe any neighborhood. People have been finding each other in community for a long, long time, holding open the doors of their buildings or their cars, saying, welcome, saying, do you need any help? Do you need a ride? Saying, there is safety here, or at least refuge, or at least compassion, at least decency and mercy. This time we're in is a transitional time. It's been only 40 days since the new regime took hold. We are still on the threshold. We are teetering. It is impossible to know from day to day what the next step can be or should be, what an effective step would even begin to look like. And it is excruciating to witness this hemorrhaging catastrophe and not know how to stop the bleeding. Are we overreacting, underreacting? It's exhausting not to even be able to tell when every drop of optimism begins to feel like irresponsible denial. It's barely a month, and it's been an eternity. And to think of the moment as transitional rather than the end of all things requires a certain kind of stamina, a certain kind of imagination, a certain suspension of disbelief, a different kind of bravery than maybe we're used to. You know from your own transition here, right now, that it is not easy to live on the threshold of change. It's never a place we choose. It's not a place you want to linger long, the razor-thin ledge of uncertainty between the past you knew so well and the inscrutable future. But for you now, this transitional time with Yulin offers you this pause, a sometimes anxious but also spacious moment to gather into yourselves, among yourselves, the core of who you are as a society, this Unitarian society, this flagship society. The values that sustain you and define you, the parts of the past that you're proud of, the parts of the past you're ready to let go of. This interim time compels you to clarify all this, to boil it down, and also to risk in your dreaming together a bold openness, a courageous curiosity. It takes fortitude to stay in this moment and not rush on to the next one. It takes wisdom and maturity to acknowledge that you can't know yet what the right next step is, and to admit that no single one of you can discern it on your own. It takes a different kind of bravery to breathe through this time, trusting that together you will come to your future, which is not a destination, not some kind of promised land, not an end point, but a starting point. It's a new way of being together that you are building together, even though you have no plan and can't quite see it. I love this poem about the turtles, as do you, that was read to us. They convene so sensibly. They discuss so reasonably the concerns of their community. They appoint committees, hold groups to debate the existence and nature of God. I recognize these turtles. I'm looking at them. You recognize them also. And in the moment when their very survival is at stake, when the theoretical discussions become a little more urgent, one of their elders speaks. He knew that whoever was in control of the stories controlled all the shoulds and should nots. But he wasn't interested in punishment, only ways in which power could bring about fairness and decency. And when he finished speaking, in the now memorable and ever-deepening waters of the Gulf, all the sea turtles began to chant, "Only fairness, only decency, only fairness, only decency." Quietly, spontaneously, no doubt across differences of opinion and experience, the turtles begin to chant with one voice what matters most, not as turtles, not as reptiles, not as Unitarian Universalists or humanists or theists or denizens of the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of whatever, or any other labeled constituency, but as fragile, fearful, brave, breathing human beings alive right now, together on the earth. All at once, as if on cue, they begin to chant, "Only fairness, only decency." So imagine it. When you are quiet, maybe in your kitchen, in the early morning before others wake up, maybe in your office with your earbuds in, maybe on a walk in the city or the woods, maybe in your bed when you are still before rising or before falling asleep. Maybe if you meditate, imagine closing your eyes, drawing breath, and hearing in your mind hundreds of thousands of voices whispering in 1,000 languages all over the globe. Only fairness, only decency, only fairness, only decency. You can almost hear it. What is the essence of who we are as Americans, as humans, as sentient beings? This is what we need now to listen for and to speak out loud to each other. That's perhaps what this transition time, the larger transition time, is for. Remembering together, discovering, discerning, deciding together. Everywhere now, there are signs of resistance. The former NFL player in California, Chris Cluey, who once played for the Vikings, I had no idea, obviously, arrested in a city council meeting for protesting a MAGA plaque that somebody thought it was a good idea to install there now. He said, among other things, "MAGA is a Nazi movement. You may have replaced the swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is." He was arrested for that, then fired this past week from his job as a high school football coach, but he has not stopped speaking out. The workers from the National Park Service who draped a ginormous American flag upside down from the face of El Capitan in Yosemite. The governor of Maine who calmly told the president, who threatened her in a public meeting, "I'll see you in court." The federal employees resigning rather than implementing horrific edicts, even though they live, as we all do, on their salaries. And what are they going to do? They're not going to do a certain thing, that's for sure. Bishop Marion Booty, who intimidated a tyrant with one word, and that word was mercy. The dairy farmers I just read about from Wisconsin and Minnesota who travel every year to remote villages in Mexico to meet and bring messages to the families of the immigrants who work for them here. These farmers go down there because the workers themselves can't go, not if they want to come back, and they let the families know that their loved ones are okay, and they thank them and bring photographs and put a friendly face on a vicious system. It is expensive to go. They have to bring a translator. Now it's even dangerous to go, but it's just plain right to do it, so they go. It's decent. Already this year, they've gone down and come back. The leader of Ukraine, ambushed by our own leaders, holding dignity, holding truth, not rising to the bait of humiliation for himself and his people. Anyone, everyone, all of you, each of you, resolving every day or most days not to yield to despair nor to cynicism. Anyone, everyone who makes space every day or most days for grief, which is real, for lamentation, for fear, and then gets up, gets dressed, gets the kids to school, the dog walked, the meals cooked, the work done. Anyone making space amidst it all for laughter and joy and poetry and music. The signs of resistance are like signs of spring in Minnesota. They are irrefutable once you start to notice. Someone said to me recently that whatever it is, Unitarian Universalism, it carries an expectation, an understanding that we will be on purpose benevolent in the absence of all benevolence. We will be courageous in the absence of courage among our so-called leaders in government. We will seek truth and speak it defiantly when all around us is lies. We will speak our love for the earth and its people, our people, when all around us is deadly and devastating silence. We cannot speak our love for one another becoming an increasingly large circle. Too often or too much. And other voices all around us are rising with our own. Like the turtles, we will remember who we are and what matters, and we will chant it like a prayer. We're going to carry one another as the man in the poem carries his small child, as if nothing else matters more. And we will feel the hum of one another's dreaming deep inside us. And we will protect that.
Thanks for listening. You can find much more about humanism and what's happening at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis by visiting our website at firstunitarian.org.